Off top, Benjamin Franklin wanted to eliminate C, J, Q, W, X, and Y from the alphabet and replace them with letters he made up. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. I surprised you there, Bill. You thought I was going to go with an Eagle fact, but
well,
nope.
I thought you were, because I thought you were saying Ben Franklin wanted to eliminate C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the NFL, and I was like, how's that going to work?
Ben Franklin did want to eliminate Eagles, though, which is how we got on this Eagle conversation. Well, not eliminate Eagles. He thought that turkeys should be our national bird because Eagles were of poor moral character.
Yeah, they're rank and duplicitous.
They don't do their own hunting. They're just like scavenge. They steal fish from other birds, and they just aren't respectable birds. And the seal would have had a big turkey on it. And maybe we eat Eagles for Thanksgiving.
Some would lot of places I can get in trouble on ESPN programming. Responding to that sentence, I will say turkeys are great and Eagles are great, and let's move on and talk about football.
Yeah. Well, I do want to note that one of our producers, Brian, said that he has thought lots about this, and he's sure he could beat a bald eagle in a fight as long as he wasn't in the nude.
Well, he did say he couldn't win if he was in the nude. He just had second thought.
He had trepidation.
A little bit of concern.
So if he has a singlet on, that's not. He can
I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like the rules have to be fair. Like, the eagle don't get clothes, you don't get clothes.
Yeah, but the eagle can fly. I can't fly. I feel like there's some inherent advantages here.
No, it's not. It's about natural. It's about what was naturally given to you. That's what you walk in. The eagle has feathers and wings. The eagle doesn't have hands.
Doesn't have opposable thumbs.
Yeah, so look.
Doesn't have critical thinking skills.
Boom.
Can't set a trap.
Yeah, you would have to somehow fashion a trap out of the things that you had in Madison Square Garden. No fans there, though.
Oh, sorry, you forgot to mention Madison Square Garden is involved in this conversation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't tell you all the details.
If you're playing Eagle Fight Simulator, the default arena you play in is Madison Square Garden. Of course, we all should have known that.
Well, we had to find something with a high enough roof to not limit the Eagles' ability. You know, that's the thing. Is if you just put them in a small ring, human's gonna have a little bit of an advantage over a 20-pound bird that is.
You take away its best attribute.
I'm beating the hell out of an eagle in a phone booth, no question.
Oh yeah. I got my money on Barnwell in the phone booth against the Eagle, unless that Eagle's name is Jalen Carter.
Oh yeah, he's beating the hell out of me.
In which case, phone booth.
You took Bill's joke about C.J. Gardner-Johnson and repurposed it to Jalen Carter. Got it.
Nice.
Well done.
Charlie's in a special mood today because we're doing a show today about some offseason moves that teams can and should make before we get to the draft. Free agency, trades, those type of guys. And Charlie's been in a great mood since we started talking about this because he just gets so excited about his team is in that position. Yes. They're in the position right now when they have a young quarterback where everything is possible. All trades, all free agencies, they are on the table for you.
Domonique was on a show called Get Up this morning. And
ever heard of it?
It was Jeremy Fowler. He was saying that if the Commanders get very close to a deal with Myles Garrett, the Eagles would swoop in with an overwhelming offer. Wow, swooping. I didn't even think about that. But it made me think, a lot of people are like, oh my God, the Eagles, the rich get richer. All I was thinking is, Howie's scared. Scared about the best QB in the conference. Can't let Myles Garrett go there, because if you aren't putting up a Curtis against Washington, it's curtains.
A Curtis?
Yeah,
55?
Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent. You got to put up a 50 piece to beat Jaden Daniels.
What are we doing? Washington rhyming slang now on this show?
Yeah,
you've never heard that?
I've never heard somebody say "put up a Curtis."
Oh man,
the
Curtis Jackson.
Yes, the exact way you said that is like when you go to school and you heard something on the way to school and you're like, I'm going to say this like everyone says this.
This was definitely like an inside, just Charlie's friends, right?
Yep.
This is a thing.
I was actually first time I ever heard it. I was at Wizards game in 2016 when Steph hit 13 threes, and there was just a dude behind me yelling, "Hit him with that Curtis!" when he was at 49. When he was at 49, they're like, "One more three."
Oh god! So have you heard it?
Rules.
That was the first time. Had you heard it since?
Yeah, I've been proliferating his intellectual firepower around the world.
So it's just you and this random guy. I'm not saying it's bad slang.
You like it?
I'm just. Oh no, I like it as slang. The problem is, it's like it's not obvious enough. Like, like it's a couple steps. We gotta walk people. Like, we got to do a year of saying hit him with a 50 Cent before you then translate to hit him with a Curtis. Then you're like, get that Jack. You got him with a Jack. Like, that's how slang works.
Get that CJ.
The etymology of slang.
Get that CJ. Bring it full circle.
There you go.
Curtis, not on the first two full pages of Urban Dictionary for Curtis. So this is strictly a Charlie and this one guy thing. I'll check out.
Oh, Charlie's so excited that it's on the third page.
No, I mean,
well, we're not sure that it's on the third page.
Oh, there are some things that I can't talk about on this podcast on Urban Dictionary. We're just generally characterizing Curtis as being bad at things on page 3 of Urban Dictionary for Curtis. This is very low. Charlie, you're going to have to single-handedly take this to the streets.
I think I just did.
You just did. It's going to be on the internet now.
By the way, before we get into our free agent moves, in theory, if the Eagles actually did get Myles Garrett, how terrifying would that be? Like, just a defensive line that has Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and Myles Garrett.
Some of us picked this as one of the things we're going to talk about on the show today.
Good idea.
Well, do you want to get into that, Bill?
Yeah, let's start right there, Bill. What do you think? What's the first offseason move that you would create for us, Bill?
One of the moves I think a team should do is the Philadelphia Eagles should trade for Myles Garrett, because this is exactly what Howie Roseman does. Howie Roseman loves offensive and defensive linemen, even though he briefly had it aside last year where he loved a running back. You know this man wants to get back on his offensive and defensive line grind. Josh Sweat is a free agent. Milton Williams is a free agent. Brandon Graham is expected to retire. Bryce Huff was a healthy scratch during the Super Bowl. Suddenly, that defense is pretty thin along the line of scrimmage. The Eagles are very cheap on defense. They spend a ton of money on offense, but they have Bryce Huff making a lot of money. I think they're going to try and eat some of that money and trade Bryce Huff this offseason. Darius Slay is a probable, potential, maybe cap casualty. They don't spend a lot of money on defense. They have a lot of guys who are on rookie deals, so they can afford a Myles Garrett on that defensive side of the football. And if you're Myles Garrett and your argument is, I want to win a Super Bowl, well, why not join the team that just blew out the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? It just feels like it makes so much sense on so many levels. This is a guy in Howie Roseman who, didn't want to sign running backs to big deals, but when he got the right running back, broke all his rules, and it ended up working out really well. Howie Roseman loves draft picks, doesn't typically want to trade them for guys in the middle of their careers, but made that trade for A.J. Brown. That worked out really well, where they went and got a guy who they thought was undervalued, underappreciated, a rare opportunity to get that guy. Now, go out and become the first team in at least the last 40 years to trade for a 4-time first-team All-Pro before he turns 30.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's nothing to disagree with in that specific move. You laid out all the reasons to do it. The only thing that would be challenging about it is where the price would get, because as we've been talking about this, well, first thing is challenging is the Browns say they're not going to come off him. That could just be negotiating ploys, because I think that it's fair for them to want to keep him, but it's also pretty obvious that their Super Bowl window hasn't worked out.
Non-existent.
Well, I mean, the
eagle flew through the window and shattered the window.
Yes, and so they are looking to rebuild for another time, so this is a good time to move him. The other challenge is, where's the price going to go? For not how much is he going to cost for an extension, but where's the price for what you can get? As Bill just mentioned in a trade, he's a 4-time All-Pro and arguably the best player on defense in football right now, and every team should want him. I'm sure the Lions believe that they add him and they're a Super Bowl favorite. The Commanders believe it. What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is do you remember how there was that incredibly low-hanging fruit analysis after the Super Bowl, being like, as long as you can get pressure with 4, you can heat up any quarterback and make him play poorly.
I appreciate this low-hanging fruit conversation. Some of us are trying to build a career out here, Charlie.
That's why our producer doesn't want to fight an eagle in the nude. But legitimately, if they had Jalen Carter and Myles Garrett, that defensive line is unblockable, and they should be massive Super Bowl favorites if they're healthy. And Nolan Smith is just an emerging player. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's like, I don't know what the price would be that it would be prohibitive if you think your window is so right now that you could do something where you repeat a Super Bowl champs, be in this conversation until Myles Garrett is 33 or 34 years old. Like, I think you could make a very reasonable argument that he has not just been the best defensive player in the NFL right now, but on aggregate, he's been the best defensive player in the NFL for the last half decade with how consistent his performance has been. And that's the type of talent that, to Bill's point, he's shown zero signs of decline, and putting him in a system. Like, part of the thing about Saquon is he's an offensive weapon. You're like, all right, put him behind that offensive line with these weapons around him, and it's not going to look like a boom bust player. Mm-hmm. The concept of doing with someone like Garrett, who are you going to double? You're going to create coverage sacks from the fact that you have Quinyon Mitchell, you have Cooper DeJean, you have this awesome secondary. Coverage sacks plus Myles Garrett and Jalen Carter is a nightmare for any quarterback in any offense.
There are fewer receivers out in the route. What do you think, Bill?
There are going to be fewer receivers out in the route is what I was thinking.
Oh, no, I was about to say something, and I saw you opening your mouth, so I passed it back to you.
I just like breathing. I just like opening my mouth to breathe. No, I'm gonna flip it elsewhere, though, Charlie. I'm going to flip it to the Commander side of things, because you said the Eagles might swoop in and outbid the Commanders for any offer they might make for Myles Garrett. Would you flip it if you're Adam Peters and you're the Washington Commanders? Would you say, you know what, if the Eagles get Myles Garrett, we're screwed? Like, our rookie quarterback is going to get the hell beat out of him with our kind of mediocre offensive line, and we need an edge rusher because we are deep in the interior, but we don't have much on the edge. Would that be like oh no, we're going to be the ones who go all in? We're going to be the ones who top any offer? Are you willing to go to that level if you're a Commanders fan to get a guy who's not going to help your quarterback directly?
So I'm going to steal a point from Domonique.
Ooh. It's
really hard for teams to be realistic about where their team is at, like in the NFL. You know this, like, they go into every year being like, we can make fixes, we can be a Super Bowl contender. Jaden Daniels covered up a lot of the issues with this roster that make it very appealing to the idea of getting Myles Garrett. But there has to be a price cap for a team like the Commanders. There are so many holes. They have such a golden opportunity to build something over the course of his rookie contract. And of course, that is the time in theory to get a Garrett. But if it comes in lieu of the fact that you can build something organically around a quarterback that should be ascending, yes, of course, the best way to protect your quarterback is not allow Myles Garrett to be on the Eagles, even more than any offensive line signing. But still, you have to think of the price. You have to think of the next 3 to 5 years of, can you build your roster to be strong enough to compete with an Eagles team?
The proposition is different for the Eagles and for the Commanders. So the proposition for the Eagles is potentially giving up future, because they are going to be in the Super Bowl conversation for the next couple of years at least, given their roster the way it's constructed right now. And so it's like, do we raise the probability of winning a championship the next couple of seasons and potentially lower it seasons from now because we've given up some draft picks, which that seems like a reasonable thing to do. But for the Commanders, it would be a lot better if Myles Garrett was a free agent. Then you could pay him whatever and amortize that cost over a period of time. Whereas they are saying, do we take our championship hopes now and raise them up slightly? We don't know how much it actually raises them, while also compromising a potential window in the future. So like, it's a different calculation. It's a much easier equation to me if I'm Howie Roseman and the Eagles. It's like, yeah, we improve our team vastly if we do it now. Then if I'm the Commanders, then I'm like, this price is getting a little steep.
What's the price tag for you where you're saying, I have to drop out if you're the Eagles or you're the Commanders?
Yeah. That's tough. I mean, I think for the Eagles, it's a couple first-round picks. I'd be fine with a couple first-round picks and some second-round picks, but their first-round picks are later, so that'll be factored into it. But I'm fine with giving away the first-round picks if I'm the Eagle. Maybe even I'd go for 3, just because I think that it almost surely guarantees that my team will have a shot at the Super Bowl, even if our offense falls off a cliff. Like, we're going to be in a lot of games as long as these guys are healthy on defense in the secondary, and they'll be able to afford Bond in up front.
What if the Browns ask you for Cooper DeJean? Are you getting your young players involved in the deal, Domonique?
Nah,
no,
I'm not giving you any
untouchable.
Players. Nah,
untouchable.
Yeah, it's not that Coop is untouchable. I mean, I think I could I could understand the argument around doing it. I wouldn't think they were stupid to do it, but I would look at the Browns and say, this ain't what you want. Take these picks and build up going forward. Like this, we are clearly trying to make our team better. We're not trying to trade guys away that we're going to be reliant on going forward. So we would have a conversation about it, but once you started coming for my players, I would have more of an issue if I was Halsey. I'd give you another first-round draft pick. Keep taking them, man. Just keep taking them.
Really
Leave my players alone.
Just ask about a player, get an extra first-round pick. It's like it's like the reverse Nico Harrison.
What about you, Bill? Where's the price for you? Because we haven't even heard, they haven't entertained it enough for it to be out there and be serious, and we don't have players that are this good come up this often, so it's hard to know. Like, we have quarterbacks sometimes available in a situation like this, but never a player like this.
I mean, the closest thing might be Khalil Mack, right? Like, that was off the end of his rookie deal, though. Myles Garrett is at the end of his second contract, and I know, teams are smart, and Myles Garrett is a special player, but there's a real concern about players as they hit 30. There is a different price for those guys. I mean, go back a couple of years ago to Jalen Ramsey, right? I mean, if you talk to fans about Jalen Ramsey, superstar player, you'd expect a significant return. When the Rams wanted to get rid of him, the Dolphins gave them a third-round pick and a backup tight end because they didn't want to pay Jalen Ramsey. I don't think that's going to happen with Myles Garrett, but I think the price tag would not be like 2 1s, 2 2s. Like, I don't think it would be that kind of deal. And so then if you're the Browns, like, you're really going to trade him for like the 29th pick or the 32nd pick in the draft and like maybe a future first round pick. Like, it almost has to be 2 first rounders and some more, just because I don't think the Browns are willing to make that move otherwise. I think you can't go to your fans and be like, we just traded the one Hall of Famer on our roster because he wanted to peace out. He didn't really want to be here anymore. Yeah. Like, I think that's almost suicide if you're Andrew Berry. So I think you have to have a certain baseline, just because otherwise the deal never gets done.
Yeah, and one of the amazing things about the Eagles is it's a bet on yourself if you're Howie Roseman too, which is that, like, you're looking at their second round picks and their secondary draft picks over the last 5 years have been so exceptional that you're willing to give up some first round draft capital. Of course, they've hit on their first round picks too, which are back to 2020, Quinyon Mitchell, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor. We're going to forget about that one. But in the second round, Jalen Hurts, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen in the third round, Cooper DeJean in the second round. They're able to find guys who end up being massive contributors. Right. Those are still early round picks, but they're, second day draft picks now where they're getting almost as much value as their first round picks from that team. So it's like an ultimate flex from Howie being like, we'll give you a couple of these and we're going to unearth Pro Bowlers who grade out really well in the second and third round anyway.
It's the Rams, right? I mean, the Rams were the team who said, we don't think picks at the end of the first round are valued the way that they should be, or they're overvalued. We're comfortable trading those picks to get players we think are proven guys, and we can build our team around them. Now, those guys were typically younger than Myles Garrett, and the Rams were wrong. They ended up giving a top 5 pick or a top 10 pick as part of the Stafford trade. But at the end of the day, like, they still won a Super Bowl. So that philosophy, I don't think, is new to the league, and I think the Eagles would probably feel pretty comfortable trading those picks if they could get someone like Myles Garrett.
Speaking of Matt Stafford, you think he stays with the Rams? Like, we've been having this conversation a number of places, and like, I kind of feel like I didn't include that in one of my moves to be that will happen, is because when I look at and I hear people talk about this move and I look at the situation and the teams that Matt Stafford is rumored to be going to, I end up thinking like probably he ends up back with the Rams, right? Because the Rams' options are Aaron Rodgers is getting floated. Sam Darnold is getting floated, and Matt Stafford's options are the Raiders. Yeah, the Raiders and the Giants and I guess the Steelers. So like, I kind of, maybe this is the next player that we talk about, because I kind of think that he goes back to the Rams.
Steelers makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
That's it though.
But I guess the Steelers offense might be a result of their personnel, but given what we know about Arthur Smith, and maybe a result of his personnel, is like he hasn't had a system that is heavily reliant on a quarterback like Matt Stafford. He's a run the ball.
I think Stafford did have that one zone read in the playoffs though, so you can see he's showing off. Got that mobility, still got those legs. Yeah, Domonique, you're absolutely right. I mean, from Matthew Stafford's perspective, What is your argument for doing this besides money? Like, what is it? Maybe disrespect and money, that combining the two. But like in terms of the rest of your career, you have a couple years left, you would assume, in terms of the coaching staff, in terms of the offensive play caller, in terms of the offensive infrastructure, in terms of the offensive line, in terms of the receivers, in terms of the running game. How could you credibly sit there and say to yourself, yeah, I got it better with the Steelers or the Giants or the Raiders than I do with the Los Angeles Rams, a team I already play for?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ego, and I mean, it's that will be the driver. It's like, yeah, I can do it there too, but I think Matt Stafford probably had all the ego knocked out of him when he couldn't do it with the Lions. So, like, I think you're right. This is why I think this is a hard player to talk about in this conversation, because it feels like both of the parties are going to realize that they're better off together. They're going to give Matt Stafford 10, 15 more a year, and he'll stay with the Rams.
So I looked at this exercise of pick 3 offseason moves you want to see very differently than you guys.
Oh,
no. Okay.
Because I went into fantasy land.
Okay. That's
So
right.
Matt Stafford is one of the players I have on my list.
Okay.
I
think he should be traded straight up to the Lions for Jared Goff. Where he gives the Lions,
what are we doing here?
He gives the Lions a better chance of winning the Super Bowl for the next 2 years, the last 2 years of his career,
Bill.
and it resets the timeline for
Bill.
the Rams with the quarterback.
Bill.
This is my day off, and I came in here to do this.
So, Bill, so 2 things, Bill. 1, I want to apologize for my co-host.
I appreciate that.
2, I would like to apologize for myself because I kind of love it. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. I know Jared Goff probably doesn't want to go back over there, but it's hilarious and it's amazing. And at least from the video, like I'll comp these things in video games sometimes when we take like the personalities and stuff out of it. From a video game standpoint, one thing that you could say that holds the Lions back a little bit is like the ceiling of their quarterback. And while it's all right, we don't have to spend any more time on it. We had the most juice out of it that we could. It's just that it's kind of funny.
It is kind of funny.
Like there's nothing else to say. There's nothing else to say about it. Are you gonna put Sam Darnold back with the Jets? They need a quarterback.
No. I'm just like the goal of this is to win a Super Bowl. Brad Holmes, you got to be a little bit of cutthroat.
Well, Charlie, who do you think would say no to that deal first?
Sean McVay would throw his body in front of it.
Oh, it would be funny watching the Lions fans pretend like stop pretending like they're in love with Jared Goff and be like all infatuated with the return of Matt Stafford. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm. I have a Lions deal in my list, but
Okay,
Domonique, I feel like you need a trade from you first.
Oh, I can. I mean, I can do one. I just mostly am enjoying what you guys are doing.
Sounds like you do not have 3 trades and you're just going to vamp off the show.
No. Dominique's Harvard Business School came out more than you've ever seen for this trades. I look over, I was screen watching Dominique. Luckily, he's taken off his Patagonia zip-up vest for this, but he's just going through his Excel document of trades that he's used a formula to sort.
So I have way more than 3.
Okay.
But Charlie's trying to make fun of me, but like in the early stages of my ESPN life, I would be studying this stuff and I end up like bookmarking specific websites that had all the information that I wanted. So I learned a few years ago, like I'll just make my own Excel document and it starts with like team needs on one sheet. And then it's potential free agents, and then it's potential trade guys, and then I start getting into draft prep, and then there's a page with draft notes. So like I'm sorry, Charlie. I'm sorry, Charlie, that I'm prepared. Yeah, it's just helpful when you have to go on these shows and talk about them. It's a lot easier to do that than like, and they're all. Okay, Bill, you're making fun of me. So
in case I have an interview at McKinsey, I have everything figured out.
Oh man,
just the earnestness with which you're explaining this, like, okay, sure, I understand how that works.
I was defending myself because I was just saying that I did not make several sheets of Excel documents
for this trade
just for today's show. I was prepared.
I respect that you
because
moderately
I prepared
for the show.
This is the only place, like a group of men is the only time that you will get made fun of for being ready. Like you get roasted for being like, I'm getting made fun of for being prepared for my.
You're
job.
vamping.
Oh, I'm so
You're
sorry.
vamping.
I'm so sorry for being
You
ready.
still haven't given us a trade. It's been like 20 minutes into the show. Give us a trade, Dominique.
Give us. It's your show, old man. Give us a trade.
All right, I'm not doing a trade. I'm doing a signing. Deebo Samuels to the Broncos. That's fun. I imagine that Sean Payton hasn't had his Taysom Hill. Ooh. And you know what Deebo Samuels is? He is a rich man's Taysom Hill. Maybe he's a little bit on the back end of his career, but the Broncos could use some receiver help. They could use, this specific receiver's help in that they have a quarterback who's still young and developing. This is a receiver that you can throw the ball to on screen passes in short, low-risk situations that can make big plays out of it. And Sean Payton's creativity could be used to help Deebo Samuels make the best of what's left of his career, while this team also has a good defense and a good offensive line. I think they are a team that, with the right couple of moves, could be a serious contender next year.
I like it. The only problem is Taysom Hill, the real Taysom Hill, is probably going to be a free agent this year. And so if you're Sean,
I know that. I have that on my sheet. And that's how I got to this. Is I saw Taysom Hill and I was like, I bet Sean Payton wants Taysom Hill. Yeah. And I really don't want Sean Payton to want Taysom Hill. So what can I do to fix it?
I don't know. They could be like the Winklevoss twins of the Broncos. I'm 6'2", 220, and there's two of me.
You just got a tab in your spreadsheet. Just says big freaks, and it's Deebo Samuel and Taysom Hill. That's the only people on the list. But just imagine.
You know what's cooler than one Taysom Hill? Two Taysom Hills.
How dare you?
Just imagine if you're Sean Payton and you sign Deebo Samuel, and then Taysom Hill's a free agent, and he shows up in Denver, and he's like, Sean, you said you'd always have a job for me, Sean. It's gonna hurt.
There's plenty of jobs to do in Denver.
Do you think Bo Nix would be like, there's a chance that Sean Payton's going to start Taysom Hill over me?
You know why I threatened.
I think Bo Nix's family would be very upset.
I like it because of what this offense is, right? I mean, not only do you need a running back, and Deebo Samuel's going to get some running back carries in that offense, but that offense is a lot of short stuff. I know Broncos fans don't want to hear it, but it is a lot of short stuff in that offense. It's the bombs and screens and safer throws, and that works if you can move the ball. And Deebo Samuel's a guy who, for whatever weaknesses he doesn't have great hands. He has an injury history. He's the yak god. Last 4 years by ESPN's yak score, first, and second among receivers in yards after catch over expectation. So he's fallen off a bit, might be third next year, but that is a player you need in that offense. You need guys who are going to run through tackles, who are going to run through screens. When the numbers are even on the sideline, you feel like you have an advantage if you throw that guy the ball because he's so physical and he's going to run through the first tackler if it's a cornerback or a safety. That is a huge plus. So I could totally see this making sense for the Broncos.
I think I'm winning, guys. I think I'm winning. I had the best one so far. It was slightly off the board, feasible, but also fun. You did one that was too fun.
I had the best one.
Bill did one that was like so obvious that we fell into it without even asking for it. Like, I'm the winner right now. Well, I got the lead.
You did call him Deebo Samuels for the first 2 minutes of the
times.
conversation.
Deebo Samuel. I'm sorry. Sorry.
You did the same thing. Like my mom calls it Panera's bread. You're on the
no, it's very different. It's very different. I was thinking about Chris Samuels. It's different. Deebo
Washington
Samuels.
offensive line. They're very similar looking.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about the Curtis?
No.
The Curtis.
Curtis Samuels?
Not Samuel Beckett.
Okay.
Charlie, you're up.
Yeah, Charlie.
No, wait, it's Curtis Samuel. Never mind.
I did. I thought so, but you could tell by the fake laugh that I did. I was like, am I wrong about this? Am I wrong? All right. Bill's up. Charlie's up. Somebody's up.
Not you. You're down.
I'll go.
Go, Charlie.
I'll go back to Fantasyland.
All right, let's go back to Fantasyland.
The Chiefs, they need some help in the passing game. They also need to be shopping in the bargain basement of the second draft of guys whose value has dipped, guys who they can get to fill a role. They've done a really good thing of taking freakishly physically talented tight ends who don't want to block, who've had knee injuries in the past, and creating a mind meld with Patrick Mahomes. And you know what Patrick Mahomes is going to need? A full revamp of that. Kyle Pitts to the Chiefs. Ooh. You don't have to give up that much.
Ooh. Not Kyle Pitt.
I like this one. This one's
you do like it.
Yeah, I do. Because Kyle Pitts is like He stinks, man. He is not a good football player.
Exactly.
He is like agonizing to watch every week. And I think Andy Reid
Which is why I'm surprised that you like
well,
it.
Andy Reid is smart
Like,
enough.
haven't we learned have the Chiefs not yet learned the lesson that they can't do this? Stop doing it. It ain't working.
They won 2 Super Bowls with Kadarius Toney, and when they got rid of him, they lost the Super Bowl. Kyle Pitts is a player where I think you have to be very selective about where you use him. He can't just be a regular tight end. And I think Andy Reid is smart enough to not use Kyle Pitts as a just generic standard tight end. I think that is the argument for making this work. And if you're looking for receiving help, he's not going to come crazy expensive. He's on his 4th year of his rookie deal. His 5th year option at tight end's not going to be huge. You're not making a huge investment. I just kind of feels like if Travis Kelce does come back, that kind of leaves you with 2 guys who you're trying to hide as receivers and not blockers at tight end, which might be tough.
But you kind of need 1 year of Travis Kelce, like
tutoring,
being his Sherpa. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like this deal, but I mean, because it's the reason why I don't like it is because it's the same thing that we've been doing with the Chiefs for a while. It's like, wait, you see this guy with Patrick Mahomes, he didn't work elsewhere because it was elsewhere's problem. And these guys with Patrick Mahomes hasn't really been a thing offensively. I know they won the Super Bowl with Kadarius Toney, and he played well in that game, but no one points to that acquisition as the move that got them to that point. So like, I'm done with that, guys. I'm done with that. They need to tackle. Get Ronnie Stanley.
You're done
mess
with
around.
You're done with suggesting that a random player will go to the Chiefs. Domonique Foxworth, let me welcome you to the 2025 reality we live in. You're going to be doing that every single week on Get Up until the start of the 2026 season.
Well, I'm done getting excited about
Okay, that's fair.
Like I got excited about all of them. I got excited last year. Hollywood Brown was I did the same thing with Kadarius Toney and Hollywood Brown, and the same result happened. I did the same thing with D Hop. He came over, had one good game, and was like, "Oh yeah, watch out!" Revitalize D Hop. I'm done. I'm done with it. Get some good big guys up front, protect Patrick, and figure the rest out.
That's not exciting. I'll give you a big guy who should move to a different team away from a Super Bowl winner. I'll give you one. Milton Williams, the big fella on the interior, should join the Dallas Cowboys. I know it is our obligation to talk about the Cowboys on every single possible show.
Yes, thank you.
This is our chance. The Cowboys need a second great pass rusher next to Micah Parsons. You're taking him away from the Eagles. Matt Eberflus, their new DC, has come out in the past and said, the guy that unlocks my defense, when I'm going to rush for him, drops 7 in coverage, is that interior pass rusher. They traded a first-round pick for DeForest Buckner when they were with Indianapolis. That seemed to go really well. His Bears defense never had that guy, and that seemed to hold them back. Getting Milton Williams, getting an interior disruptor, he's going to be playing a more expansive role. He's going to be allowed to rush the passer more, I think, than he did in Philadelphia because he was playing next to Jalen Carter on these last couple of years. But that dude is a monster, and I think that is the big move. The Cowboys are going to make one big move. That is the place I would go. Defensive tackle, Milton Williams.
I like it. I mean, I think there's a couple of pass rushers that are out there that might be interesting to replace Milton Williams, and this might be a bit of a stretch. I know Charlie's not going to like this, but I think Chase Young as a guy who's available, who like has high-end talent, and we've never quite seen it materialize because of injury and other reason. Like as a cheap player in a good situation, you might see a better version of him in Philadelphia.
We call him defensive Kyle Pitts, where I'm from.
Yeah. Well done. Charlie's not even laughing because he's angry at me for even raising this as a possibility.
Like, it's apathy more than anything.
Wow.
Like, counterpoint.
Okay.
Why don't the Cowboys just blow it up?
Yeah.
Like trade Dak for draft capital, trade Parsons, start anew. You're not going to win.
Okay. I think the problem with trading Dak is like the dead money is huge, but I guess at that point you'd be tanking for draft picks anyway. Like
he's still good.
Yeah,
you get multiple first round picks for him.
The problem with it is like
I can tell you.
I find it to be a little bit absurd because these are 2 really good players.
They're awesome.
But the problem with me pushing back against it is I don't know what the Cowboys' plan is, and this feels like a plan. So Bill has it figured out.
I can tell you why the Cowboys are not going to do it. 82 years old.
Jerry.
82 years
That dude
old.
ain't
Jerry
tanking.
Jones.
Trust me, that dude's winning now. We're not. He's
What
not
is he doing,
waiting for
though?
5 years down the line from now.
His holograms could love it if they built a new contender.
You heard about this before? This is one of Charlie's favorite things, is that there are holograms throughout the Dallas stadium that are of Jerry Jones telling you Cowboys history and stuff like that.
Is that true?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
You want the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader show? There's a Jerry hologram telling you the history of the Cowboys cheerleaders.
You doing recaps of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader show anywhere, Charlie, that we know about?
Not yet. But if they do a season 2, I'm down.
Okay.
What about Tyreek Hill to the Bills?
I don't like that one.
I like it.
No, not for me.
You don't? Why not?
Because we just saw the Bills have a legit number one receiver for like 4 years since Stephon Diggs, and they couldn't beat the Chiefs. And the one thing that's beaten the Kansas City Chiefs is you rush 4 and drop 7 into coverage. That's what they need. That's why they went out and went all in for Von Miller, and it didn't work. So that's what they need to me is they need a second pass rusher or first pass rusher to give everyone else, make everyone else second, third, fourth, fifth pass rushers. I don't think Tyreek Hill in an offense that has moved more towards the run over the last couple of years. That seems like a luxury to me. The Bills are unlikely to pursue, but you can sell me on it.
That's fair. No. I don't want to sell you.
Bill just made fun of my voice, making fun of his voice about the 4. That was rushing 4.
That I think you're right. I agree with you once I heard it laid out, but I was doing a little Charlie there. It's just be fun.
Yeah.
That speed out there with Josh
I mean,
would just be
like
fun, and the ball skills.
If they could get him for $5 million a year with no draft picks, for sure, no question. But like, if you're going to take one big swing, is that where you want to take a swing? Maybe. I mean, I could see it, but maybe better than taking no swing at all. But I just think I'd rather get Josh Sweat with that kind of money and not give up the draft picks to do it. And by the way, I mean, maybe the Dolphins see it as like addition by subtraction, like they're just dropping a bomb on another team in that division. But if they think Tyreek Hill's good, I don't think they want to trade him in the division.
Anybody have any other moves? I got some more, but they're throwaway moves.
I have some more too. You go first, Bill.
Mine aren't. Please,
mine aren't good.
I will give you one more. It's the Lions. I have Trey Hendrickson going from Cincinnati to Detroit.
Ooh.
This is their all-in move. I don't think they can get Max Crosby, but if you're the Bengals and you want to satisfy Joe Burrow and you're going to keep T. Higgins and you're going to re-sign Jamar Chase, that probably means you're not keeping Trey Hendrickson. And if you're not keeping Trey Hendrickson, the team that should be at the front of the line is the one where all year we were sitting here like, oh, they got to get another pass rusher. Oh, all their pass rushers got hurt. They need somebody. Oh, the Commanders just dropped a Curtis on them in the NFC divisional round. They need another pass rusher. Trey Hendrickson, to me, is that all-in move. Get the league's leading sack earner last year across from Aiden Hutchinson. You have cap space the next couple of years. You can make this work. That, to me, is their all-in move.
Can't you see the Bengals, too, being like, Joe, you said we had to re-sign all your receivers.
Yep.
This is what you get, buddy.
Yeah, that's definitely what the Bengals going to do. Rather than like having extended contracts with void years at the back in order to fit them all under the cap and make a run, they're just going to be like, hey,
imagine signing 4 players to big money deals. How is it possible?
What?
Has anyone done it before?
All right, Charlie, give us a fun one.
Yeah.
So
I don't like how you start laughing before you deliver it. Like
he's already about to apologize for it.
I had written down Garrett to the Commanders, but I'm going to pivot from Myles Garrett to Garrett Wilson, who just needs to get out of the Jets' hellscape of a situation, and we can have someone who can be a 1A to Terry McLaurin's 1B talent-wise. Yeah. If he develops that, and it's get a second Ohio State receiver. Commanders desperately need a co-number 1 with Terry. And that talent's not that available, particularly if he's really young and really wants to get out of New York. And that's something that could really fit the Commanders' timeline.
Don't hate it.
No,
I wasn't. Yeah, I thought it was another one. It was a jokey one.
Yeah, that's much more serious than Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff.
All right, I'll give my last one. I think Aaron Rodgers should announce now he's the quarterback for the 2028 Olympic flag football team because he's not going to have a team to go to. And that's he can pull a Joel Embiid moment and be like, look, I'm a champion. I'm a gold medalist. I'm going to revitalize this program. I think he should announce it this season when no team wants him.
He already won a Super Bowl, though.
Yeah, he did win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But, it's too long ago. We forgot.
That was also before his intellectual awakening. This Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
That's what we're calling it? We're calling it intellectual awakening?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe that's what he calls
euphemism.
it. I don't have to call it that.
No. What do you think about that one? I think that one's pretty good. He's gonna have, it's like, do you want to be the quarterback for the Titans or the Browns, or do you want to be like, I'm Captain America?
So who's going to be the GM of this team? And let me send them an email right now and say, please don't.
Can I
seen the guy in the video?
in Nathaniel Hackett, general manager?
Yeah. Yes, that will be the general manager or head coach of the flag football team. Oh,
I love that
Bill,
when we talk about the Jets, it's either the entire league being in service of them and trading every spare piece they have to the Jets, or the Jets being in service to the rest of the NFL where all their good players get traded other places. It feels like there's never a middle ground where they're like kind of quasi competing. I mean,
do you think Brick Johnson could become the GM of the American flag football team?
Oh yeah, he's got enough money. Just got to donate enough.
It's not like he's not asking to be the ambassador to England.
I don't know if he'd be a bad one.
Bricky J.
I mean, it's like get fast guys.
Yeah,
I feel like that's what. Yeah, look at their Madden ratings. Who got the highest speed ratings? Mm-hmm. Sign them up.
His Amari Cooper thing of why he didn't want him because of the Madden rating actually would have worked in flag football.
Is there any Sam Darnold conversation to be had? We haven't had we talked about maybe Sam Darnold to the Rams, or we joked about him back to the Jets. I feel like we have to at least introduce a Sam Darnold to this conversation more seriously than we have so far. What do you think, Bill?
Do you think the Vikings should franchise Sam Darnold?
No,
you not even a thought for you at all.
No, I mean, because the franchise, once you play it out in your mind, so the franchise, this team is in a championship window. Yep. The franchise tag eats up a huge number of your cap, which makes it less likely to address any other issues that they have. And also, I kind of hate the idea of franchising a guy who you might keep. Like, I like the franchise tool as a point to hold on to a guy for the last second of a run. If you use the franchise tag on Sam Darnold, you end up setting yourself up for the Danny Dime situation where you mess around and have a good year and then you're going to end up like, either if you believe in Sam Darnold, you sign him to a long-term deal right now, in which case the front end of the contract won't be as onerous, or you just fall back on the fact that we drafted a guy high. That's who we want. Let's go ahead and move on to him because Sam Darnold hasn't shown us enough for us to commit to him.
The part that I think scares me is, what if he says yes? Like, if he says yes, you're kind of screwed. Like, you don't want a $40+ million cap hit. You don't want to have another year with JJ McCarthy on your bench. Like, you drafted that guy to be your starting quarterback. Sam was the bridge guy, not the actual guy. And I think if you are afraid your quarterback is going to say yes, typically it's kind of a scary thing to do. But I go back to the Patriots in 2009, when they had Matt Castle and they franchised Matt Castle, although obviously he was not going to be the dude. They traded him, got a second-round pick. They had to send Mike Vrabel with him. So maybe you include a future NFL coach as part of the deal. But I think you could franchise him if, number one, you're confident he's not going to sign it, and number two, very quickly, you're either trading him or you're moving on and you're removing the tag. Because, like, you don't want to have that linger over you for weeks. That is we're going to have a long weekend where we're going to talk to as many teams as possible. And if we can't get a deal done, that's it. Because I thought you meant as an actual strategy to franchise them and play them.
No. You're only franchising them in order to hold on to them to try to extract some value from them, which, like, I get that as a play, but
it's risky.
As I've said many times on this, like, I'm kind of risk averse, and the reward you're saying is a second round pick. That ain't nearly high enough for me to risk a damn near $50 million cap hit for Sam Darnold. So no, thank you, sir.
I think that's fair. If he leaves as a free agent, which I think is the most likely outcome, depends on what happens to Stafford, right? You would think the Rams would be interested. I know that they've talked about Jimmy G being the guy next year, which is Domonique's just loading up for another year. He felt like his Jimmy G well had gone dry. Now he gets another year of Jimmy G conversations.
plenty more Jimmy G takes.
With a pretty good head coach and a pretty good offense. He's just going to be good enough to lose in the wild card round. Dominique's very excited about that one.
Can't wait.
I think the Giants would make sense. of the teams that are out there, where you have a coach and a GM who you think is probably going to get fired if they don't win this year. A coach who's done a good job with bad quarterbacks in the past, or even a good quarterback in Josh Allen made him a lot better, but also made Daniel Jones look like he was the guy in New York. Probably was so good coaching him that it cost them 2 years. A great wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. You have a good left tackle, not much else in the offensive line, but that to me is the probably best Sam Darnold landing spot for all parties involved.
If you're Sam Darnold, I have a question, Domonique. If you think you're going to get the most money from the Giants, what's the inflection point? How much more does it have to be? Because you know deep down, if you go there, you're probably going to suck. Rather than going to like a really good team where you can fit in the system,
the Steelers?
And have like a KOC type coach.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think what tends to happen, I would assume for most players, and Sam Darnold found himself in this situation, is there aren't as many suitors as you want or you think. And it comes down to one team is willing to pay a lot, and the other teams are like, nah, I'll take you if you're like much lower than that. And I think that's probably what's going to happen to Sam Darnold is one team, maybe two teams, and they're going to be teams who are not very attractive destinations are going to be willing to pay him so much that he can't turn it away. Because like your argument would be take a discount and stay here, or go
to the
somewhere
Rams
where your career can flourish. But the Rams is an option too. But like the amount of money that he would be turning down, I would think would be too much for a player like that, because these teams are desperate.
Well, what if Sam Darnold goes back to his former employers, to Charlie's point? What if he goes to Kyle Shanahan, who has this very difficult decision to make, and says, hey, I will be your starting quarterback for $15 million a year. I will have life-setting money, and you will not have to pay Brock Purdy $55-60 million a year.
Yeah, but that's $15 million a year compared to what someone else is going to pay him, which is what, at least 30 a year? Like at least 30 a year. I think that double that. I think Sam Darnold's going to go take those hits wherever. And I think Sam Darnold might have had the arrogance knocked out of him, but most players are arrogant enough to think that it's not going to be as bad as other people might believe it is. So I think going back to New York is going to be hard for Sam Darnold if he ends up back at the Giants, especially if things don't go well. And that situation seems so tough with the misalignment of the talent on their roster and the incentive for their coach and general manager to like do whatever they can to prove that they have value now when it's clear that their team is not ready to win today. Like that seems like a really bad situation, but you deal with it because they're going to pay you. Just
imagine Sam Darnold leads the Giants to the playoffs, and then the Giants reveal, we were actually filming our organization the entire time in the background while we were signing Sam Darnold. Let's release Hard Knocks offseason 2. The Giants get their revenge.
That's so bad, man. I'm surprised. I mean, teams don't let them. They kind of force them, but I'd be really pissed off if I was a GM and they're like, we're doing Hard Knocks offseason in your building tonight.
No. Hard Knocks offseason, you're EMPing the building. You're destroying all cameras.
Hard pass.
Yeah, hard pass on that. Anyway, all right. Thank you so much, Bill Barnwell. Thank you, Charlie Kravitz. Thank you to all the great producers. I love you, Pod Bill. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.